Like I said, I'd recommend that you get a Demon Prince and a Spawn because, like I said, if you if you happen to roll that Dan by Chaos and you become a Spawn and or you become a Demon Prince, which is awesome. That was like I was so excited when I read that. I was like, oh man, this is so cool that they added this. But the idea is, you should have these models because if it happens in the game, and you don't have a Demon Prince, and you're all excited, oh, and then all of a sudden you say, oh crap, I don't have the model. Uh. So it's one of those things where it's like, don't spend so much money if you don't want it, but it's something you should have on hand in case it happens. It could happen where you roll for that and then you don't have the model and it sucks. And maybe, if you're playing a fun game, most people probably won't care. But like again, if you're in a competitive game, if you're in a tournament, there's no way that your opponent's gonna be like, oh yeah, go ahead. So just keep that in mind. Um, and the last thing I kind of want to talk about is I I'm actually I must say I think it's fair that they have now the points per model when you give them a mark of chaos. Now you don't pay for the unit anymore. It used to be like you buy all of your guys and you pay 30 points for like the mark of, we'll say, corn, which that's great, but it seems like now it's more fair. You pay per model, and it kind of adds up in points, but it's to me it seems fair for everybody, and it just makes sense. It really does. Um, I'm not really bummed about it. I'm sure some guys out there are, but I think it's fair. I really do. So I'm kind of glad they did that. They're trying to like look outside the box. Um, so that's pretty much it from the things I like. Again, I love all the new models. I love a lot of the heroes. The lords are great. I love all the monstrous infantry, the monsters. There's a lot of cool looking models. Like a lot of them look really neat. Um, you know, some of them in my mind look kind of dumb. I mean, like Throg looks sweet as heck in my opinion, um, and Volkia, and there's a lot of cool ones. And then there's also ones I don't really like that I think look kind of plain and blah. Um, like the Mutalith Vortex Beast. I'm really not a fan of it, and I'll talk about it in a little bit. But a lot of the new ones look really cool. A lot of the models look awesome. So, um, alright, let's just talk about some of the things I don't like. I feel like for fun reasons, okay, you have all these options for units, all these options for characters, all this kind of stuff. Great, like I said. Unfortunately, in my mind, I feel like it's sort of, depending on the player, of course, but competitively, it seems like, in my mind, there's things that are going to be really good, and then there's things that are going to be like kind of like automatically, no, I'm not interested, that kind of thing. And again, there's going to be ways around this. There's going to be cool. Um, People are going to come up with really cool, different types of things to work together to get things off. For instance, uh, oh, I'll talk about the points because that's my next point, so it sort of feeds into this. So I used to love Marauders. I think everyone that played in the old book loved Marauders. You guys that are new, you don't probably understand or know that they kind of like screw them over a little bit. I think they're still good with ways that you can work things with them, especially the magic. Um, but in the old book, it was like I think you pay like 7 points for a Marauder of Khorne with a gray weapon, and I'm going off memory here, but it was like, I mean, that's crazy. Your 2 attacks, weapon skill, I believe, like 4, two strength, 5 attacks, so you have frenzy, so that's like insane for 7 points. Now right off the bat, now you pay 6 points. Not a huge issue, but that's they're bare bones. They don't even have armor. They don't have shields. It just seems like a lot of the upgrades now. It's like way too much. Um, for instance, chaos. Let's go to Chaos Warriors. They're 14 points a model. You pay for their marks if you want the Mark of Khorne, Tzeentch, Nurgle. all 2 points. Slanesh is 1. Okay, now shift down to Marauders. Marauders are the same. Mark of Khorne, Tzeentch, Nurgle, all 2 points also. Slanesh is 1 point. Not a huge deal, but again, it could be like, when I look at this, I'm thinking, why? They really should only be 1 point each. And then the same thing with Grey Weapons. They're 3 points for Warriors, and they're also 3 points for Marauders. And that's just, it adds up, and that's my point. It adds up where it's like, I'm paying, we'll just hypothetically say I bring Chaos Marauders with Grey Weapons and their Khorne. Well, that's 9, 10, 11 points, and 11 points for, 2 attacks, Frenzy, Strength 5 doesn't sound that bad, but then you figure, oh, I don't even have armor. Like, I have nothing. I don't know. I just don't like them. And there's, like I said, there's ways you can do things. Like, for instance, you can kind of give them like the whole Tzeentch with shields, and maybe give them like a 5 parry in combat, which isn't bad. Or you can put, you can kind of do the whole Curse the Leper, and now they're toughness 6. Like, that's sweet. And I think that's how you'll get your points back with this kind of squad, is that whole kind of combo with magic and all that. But I just feel like if you're paying that many points, you're paying 11 points a model, why not just pay 3 more points and get a Chaos Warrior? Because they'll last 3 times as long. Anyway, I kind of rant and rave, I know, but that's just my logic behind it, and I kind of question certain things. Let's talk about another squad, for instance, like Dragon Ogres. Like, they're another one where they're great. They look sweet. I think the new models look fantastic. They have some cool things about them. They have 4 wounds. And there's ways you can give them. You can give them Grey Weapons to make them Strength 7, so like they can hunt down monsters and stuff. Like, that's cool. But in my mind, 60 points for a 4 wound monster is a crap load. And again, you have to do 4 wounds on it to stop it from attacking back. So I kind of see that, but in the sense, it's like, why don't I just bring 2 Chaos Trolls and have a total of 6 wounds for 10 more points over the Dragon Ogre and 6 attacks rather than 3? So I think they kind of did that. In my mind, they did it not right. They kind of point value certain things differently, and I don't want to say incorrectly because I'm sure they know what they're doing, but in my mind it seems like it's like, why would I even bother? Now, granted, I understand they move 7 too, and they're not stupid. They have good leadership. But, if I just bring Throg, for instance, now they're not really that stupid. Now they use his leadership, and he's an 8. So, again, certain things seem like the point values are not really right, and maybe that's just my opinion, and or the way they want you to kind of mold to the game, and the direction they're going and all that. So, just some thoughts. Some of the other things I don't like about this book is I don't really like the chaos is fickle whole thing. I understand it's part of chaos. It makes sense, right? But when I think of chaos, I think of an elite army. I don't, it's like high elves. Like, you guys playing high elves or against high elves, you know that they're an elite army all the time. And again, they have flexibility, like I said, so I don't want to say that they're all elite army, because you could run a whole kind of like marauder, horseman, okay, but like, for the most part, they're an elite army. So I kind of hate that whole chaos is fickle crap. And I understand, like I said, it feeds into the whole chaos thing, and the gods are, they'll either put you on the throne, or they'll put you under their feet. That whole thing. So I get it, but at the same time, it's like some of the things that are fickle just don't seem good to me. Like some of the Tzeentch things, like the lore of Tzeentch, the whole warp flame. I think it's cool, but then you're like, oh wait, I mean 6 regen isn't much, but you can really bump up the enemy if you keep targeting them and make them better, and like that's why I'm kind of like turned off from him. And another one is like the Mutalith Vortex Beast. Like, it has some cool stats, and it is a monster, and it has anywhere between 1 or 3 and 8 attacks and all that. So like it is kind of cool. They have like again, you know, it has regeneration, terror, all this kind of cool stuff. But it's like 240 points, and then on top of it, you can kind of make the enemy better. Not really. So my point here, same with the Slaughter Brute. You know, it's like it's cool. It's not too expensive and all that. It is, but it's not. And you can kind of like run a crazy lore like Archaon and then figure that he'll never become unbound because Archaon probably won't die. You know, 90% of the time he's not going to die. But if, you know, again, it could happen. Not it's